Welcome to another edition of TM3 Impact. My name is Tomas Martinez, and I am super excited to have my wife and his dear friend, Juli Henderson, on the podcast today. Juli, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We're really excited to have you here. Juli Henderson is a vocal teacher and coach. Mm-hmm. She's also the proud owner of In Our Arms Life Unexpected blog. Yep. Thank you for being on the podcast, Miss Juli. I really appreciate you being here.
Love being here.
And no pressure, okay?
No pressure.
Because guess what? You are the first guest in our new studio. How about that?
I love it.
Isn't that awesome?
Yep.
That's
Studio
awesome.
is beautiful.
Well, I'm glad you're here. So let's jump right in. I want to know, tell me your San Antonio story. How did you come to live in this amazing city? Cliff Note version.
Okay, Cliff Note version. Went to college, met my incredible husband, Chris. He joined the military in order to go through medical school. They paid for his medical school. And the first station we were assigned to was San Antonio at Wilford Hall. So that got us here. And that was a little over 35 years ago. We've been in and out of San Antonio when he was still in the military. And so we've always thought this was home once we got here because our 5 kids were born here at Wilford Hall and it just became home. And so that was how we got here. And then we fell in love with the city. And the kids, grew up here and went to school here and loved it. And so we just decided this is home for us. These are roots. I'm a military brat, Army. Yeah. Husband's Air Force, was Air Force. And so I was used to moving around, but I wanted a place where the kids could grow up and come back to. Yes. And so having that here and the way we had to keep coming back for Wilford Hall as he was training made it very easy. So it was great.
Isn't San Antonio awesome?
It's the best.
It's a great city, right? It's a great city. Okay, so I'm thinking, you come here with the military, but there were times where did you have to leave at some times? So where you have to leave San Antonio?
And, we were really blessed, Tomas, in that Chris, because he's a physician, there were only certain places he could go to train. And so a lot of military families find that Wilford Hall or BAMZ is the place. You want to come train the big hospitals. And so we'd go for a year, went to Maryland for a year and came back to San Antonio for another couple of years. Then we went to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. He did a sleep fellowship there. So we were there for a year, 9 months, and then we came back. And then we just always come back to San Antonio and to Stone Oak.
Yeah, it's a great area.
Yeah.
It's such a great area. Yeah. Now that we know your San Antonio story, that's so awesome. We got to thank the military because they brought this amazing family to our city. So thank you, military, for that. Let's go back. I want to know, Miss Juli in high school. I want to go way back. Tell me dreams, aspirations. Who was Miss Juli in high school?
I was a music nerd. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, which is, totally opposite of Chris. He loved music, but he's a lifelong learner. So anything he could learn, I was very focused on music because we moved around a lot, 2 and 3 years military. As my husband, my father is a retired 2-star general. And so we moved a lot for his career. So every place I went, it was music. The music people hung out together all the time. It's like the band nerds, choir nerds, you know who your group is.
Right.
So even in high school, I would spend my lunch hours, in the music room, sometimes just taking my lunch in there so I could just, rehearse with the pianist,
Singing.
Just singing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd go in there and rehearse. And so that was my life, growing up. I'm kind of a late bloomer in that my goal was I want to get married young.
Okay.
I want to have a lot of kids. And I want to do music as much as I can.
Okay.
Those were simple goals. And it wasn't until I got to college and met Chris, like the first week there that I realized, he's the one.
Yeah, for sure.
I love him.
Yeah.
And we got married young in college. And I feel very fortunate that that's been my life. We have 5 kids. And I found that I dreamt that early, maybe even in middle school, and God was faithful and I was allowed to have that life. I know not everybody gets that, but I feel very fortunate and blessed that when I look at my life, I was allowed to have that. I was allowed to have those kids and have a husband that I adore 40 years. So
you'll be married 40 years.
40 years, a little
over.
Oh,
my goodness.
Yeah, I got married at 2,
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Got married. I caught that. Got married at 2. I caught that. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, Oral Roberts, you went to Oral Roberts.
Yes.
So you said y'all met the first week of college?
Actually, we met in high school. When I was a senior in high school, his singing group came. He was pre-med, but he also did a lot of music. So he came to our high school. I thought he was someone else because my brother had also attended ORU, and I thought he was a friend of my brother's. I embarrassed myself totally and ran up to him and called him another name, and he said, "No, I'm Chris." So I was like, "Oh, Chris, let me go back in the car and huddle now because I totally just embarrassed myself." But then that first week, we met, and
so you had met him before college,
but I didn't realize
you didn't realize it. Okay,
I didn't realize that was the one I embarrassed myself with.
Okay,
so yeah, but when we realized, it was kind of funny. But yeah, so we dated, got married my sophomore year. He was headed to medical school, and we stayed there. At that time, ORU had a medical school, and so we stayed there. And then it was straight to San Antonio.
Wow.
So we've been here. Yeah.
Okay, so I have this saying, and I don't know if I coined it, but I think I caught it from somewhere. Okay. And it's who you marry matters.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this because I didn't realize it was 40 years that you and Chris had been married. Yeah. But I will tell you, you know, I take it is like a badge. I wear it like a, you know, just something on my shoulder to say I've been married 21, you know, to my amazing wife, Christina. Yes. And so I sit here and whenever I say that, I like to tell this to young people. It's like, hey, who you marry matters, because in this very moment, you and I talking together is because of who I married, right? That's right? It's because of the woman who believed in me to even get to the point to start a magazine, to have this studio. Like you look around this studio with the help of her and Crystal, they've made this a reality, right? So I want you to just speak to what that means to you, who you marry matters.
That's such a great saying, and it's true. I had several things I had prayed for. I wanted someone I could respect, someone that loved special needs kids, because at that point I wanted to do music therapy. ORU didn't offer that, but if I hadn't gone to ORU, I wouldn't have met Chris, so I know that was God. I think another part of that was because I wanted a big family, it really didn't come into play when we were dating, because I don't think you really think about that as much. Like, I'm going to have kids. I told him I wanted 10, and then I was like, I'll settle for 6. And then we had twins, and it's like goodness. 5 is good enough. Right. But it had to be someone I respected and someone that wanted to do some kind of outreach to special needs kids. And I can't even tell you why that was at that point, but it was very evident in Chris because I saw him on stage first. So I saw him on stage singing in a group, telling his story, and their group did sign language. So he was already in that field of, I love music. I didn't know he was pre-med. I thought he was a music major, really, because he spent so much time in the music building. But it was immediate for me. And I know other people don't always have that story. And so for me, I know I'm fortunate and I had that, so I hold on to that as very rare. And I always tell young couples that the most important thing for me is you've got to respect each other with the love, and that comes through a lot of walking out of years of what does respect mean? Does that mean that I give up everything I dreamed for to compromise to follow your career, or can we do this together? So that's respect in that way, but just honoring him. I honor him because he's my husband. But the most important thing I say to them is learn to love and forgive quickly.
Oh, that's so good.
Forgiving quickly, I think, is one of the most important things, because you can't go through marriage and hold on to stuff. I mean, I count it a joy that I get 40 years with Chris. I mean, I pray I get another 40. But if I don't, I've had 40 years with the man I adore. And
which is beautiful.
So marrying the person that you respect and that you know you can love, I think, is really important. But it does matter through the years. I mean, it's important that person is someone you know that you love and respect. And I can say I've had that.
That's beautiful. I love it. Okay, so now I heard there was a story that you got to perform for the NBA. Was this after college? Like you did the national anthem? Is that true?
Let me not drink my coffee while you're saying
is that true?
Yes. So San Antonio, we have the Spurs. Love the Spurs. Always love the Spurs. I think they're incredible. As we were going along, I was doing a lot of singing in churches and some conferences, and it actually was a contact through our church to go and audition for the Spurs, and that point you auditioned live, you know.
Yeah.
So went and auditioned and got to sing the national anthem for several years with them. So it was great because you sing the national
You did
anthem.
it more than once?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
I loved
my
it. Yeah.
goodness.
So you sing the national anthem and then you get, you know, like 4 seats back then, and they were great seats. They weren't the front row, they're like 4 or 5 rows up. Fantastic. So you got to go as a young couple, take a friend or two, and it was great. So I've had the joy of doing that, but also, you know, getting my students. I've also, voice students have had the opportunity to do that too sometimes, and so it's really fun to. I mean, you honor the flag, you honor the country, you honor our great Spurs team. And you get a good night of basketball.
Yeah,
so,
you can't beat that.
Yeah,
So what was the year that you did it first? Do you remember what year it was?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got in here, actually was through Jeff Harris. So I'm trying to think how far that would have been back. We were at, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'll let you know.
Was David playing? Was David Robinson
David,
playing?
David was
okay.
playing.
So it's
So
probably
what
the
year
90s.
would that have been?
That would have been
Yeah.
around the 90s.
I was trying to think how old the
late
kids were.
80s, right? Somewhere in that time frame.
Yeah, David was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one. I have some good pictures and some good memories. Being able to do that.
Well, that's fun. Now, you also got to travel with Billy Graham.
Yes.
Is that correct as well?
Yes.
Talk about that. That had to be an amazing experience.
It was. You know, being a singer and having a family and wanting a lot of kids, a lot of people would have said to me, you can't do that. You have to choose one. And I didn't feel I needed to choose. My parents never said I needed to choose, and so Chris never said I needed to choose. So when he got to Minnesota, he was doing his sleep fellowship there. The Billy Graham Association is there, the Billy Graham Evangelist Association. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to ask, do you need any singers, you know?
Yeah.
So sent him a video. So then I started traveling with John Wesley White, who was a part of Billy Graham's team, and Franklin Graham. And then I got to do a conference crusade in Ohio with Billy Graham, and it was interesting because James had just been born, so he was 3 weeks old, and long story short, in Minnesota I contracted meningitis when I was 7 months pregnant with James. So here we had this, we're moving back to San Antonio, I'm 7 months pregnant, I've got meningitis, and I have to sing a Billy Graham 3 weeks after James is born, and I thought, this is not going to happen, you know. I'm sending him these CDs and it's not going to happen, and it did. And so that was a really joy for me because Billy Graham Association, Evangelistic Association, sorry, they treat people so well.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
They honor their guests. They treat them with respect. And here I was, you know, I wasn't a major star. I was a vocalist. Yeah. And they gave me that joy of singing with them. And I loved it. It's a memory I'll never forget.
Yeah. Okay. So how many people? Because I mean, back then, these crusades were massive. They were doing stadiums.
Yes, it was.
So how many people were at the one that you did? You remember? Do you remember what stadium?
It's Ohio, so it's Columbus.
Okay,
And I don't remember the amount of people, but it was an outdoor stadium, so it was huge. The ones you see back in the day with Billy Graham on the stage.
Yes.
With, you know.
Massive. We're talking over 20,000, 30,000 people, right?
It was huge. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So it was nothing like I'd ever done before. And it was a joy. Yeah.
So, you know, everybody talks about nervousness, right?
Yeah.
Like, this idea you get nervous. You sing at Spurs games. You sing on stages like that. What do you tell your students? You are a vocal coach and instructor and teacher. What do you tell your students about that? Like, how do you help them overcome that?
Two things I think I try to drill into them from the day I have until the day they leave is, first of all, training. So vocal care is really important to me. How you treat your instrument. You're an instrument if you're a vocalist. You're not just a singer. You're not just a pretty singer.
I like that.
Yeah, you have to learn to, and you're an instrument too. Yeah. You talk all day, and your vocal instrument is really important. So public speakers and singers, you've got to care for your voice properly. So that's the first thing. Let's go through all the parts of our instrument. Let's learn our instrument. Let's treat it well. Like it was a piano or saxophone or any other instrument. You've got to take care of it. So that's the first thing, knowledge about your instrument and then how you take care of it.
I love that.
Second thing is, and I say this carefully. I want them to be a little nervous.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I want them to have a little bit of butterflies so they're not so confident that they forget that they need to pay attention when they're singing. Does that make sense?
Good. Yes.
Because if you're so confident that you're going to do it perfectly all the time and there's a little bit of arrogance in that, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention to the people that you're singing to. You're not paying attention to the people you're speaking with. You're not engaged. If you're not a little bit nervous. So I don't mind a little bit of nervous. And I've had some students that will come to recital. We give those twice a year, and they're sick to their stomach because they're so nervous. And I tell them very gently, in a very nice way, go throw up in the bathroom, rinse out your mouth, and come back out.
Yeah.
You don't get to go home. Yeah. You've got to do it. And you have to be prepared enough that if the little nervousness makes you nervous, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I've heard a lot of people talk about nervousness. I've never heard that aspect of it, is that the nervousness helps you engage. And I think about me public speaking, the times where I felt it is where I have been the most engaged.
Yes.
Does that makes total sense.
Yes.
I'm so glad you shared that. So people out there, how do they reach out to you to learn more about vocal coaching? What's the easiest way for people to reach out?
Go to the website, JH Voice Studio, and they can punch in there and they can learn about what we do, see some of the artists that are on there and hear our story, and then they can reach out to me on the contact page.
I love that.
Yeah.
So now you've been in San Antonio now for how long? How long have you been in San Antonio?
A little over 35 years.
35 years.
Going 36.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And you recently started a blog. And you are the owner and founder of In Our Arms, Life Unexpected.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to read, there was one about Taylor Swift and her song.
Yep.
And I listened to the song. And you're like, I mean, I've read a lot of blogs, right? There's something different that you're doing. It's it's so authentic and real that I just, so please, people, if you're listening to this, go to the blog. We'll have the link on there. Go to the blog. But go back to the genesis of it, because I know this has been in your heart for a while.
Yeah.
So go back and talk about the genesis of it, please.
Okay, so you know our family well, and you know I adore your wife, Christina. So we have 5 adult children, and I have to be careful how I say that because one of my kids said, Mom, you have 5 adult children. Sometimes you say 4. Yeah. So our youngest son, Robert, is a twin of Victoria, and he had a very rare seizure disorder and a mitochondrial disease, what it's called. You can look that up if you want to, but a rare genetic condition. And he had that from his first cell. So that's who Robert was. We had him for 18 years. He was the joy and the blessing in our family. And so at 18, he passed away. His seizures, were so much a part of his life that, we should have had him for about 2.5, 3 years, and we had him for 18. So we were very blessed. Wow. Lots of care inside the house, lots of nursing and all of that. Christine and I have talked about this over the years, that in my heart, right after he was gone, I wanted to do more. So I was already doing some volunteer work in town. With Any Baby Can, I wanted to reach out to more families because I know a lot of times there's not the support for families just being able to find out information. So the first blog I actually wrote was in June of 2015 when Robert, and it was called, I'm not even going to go into it because it'll get me on a train we don't want to be on. So I wrote it and I put it away. And
you never shared it with anybody?
Nope, I put it away. And I thought, I want to do this. It was in my heart. I want to reach out to other families. There's got to be a community somewhere that we can talk honestly, because the doctors are incredible, but they don't have time to talk for, an hour with you about how you're doing, Right. So I found that 2017, I went to a conference and I felt that nudge again in my heart that, I really want to do this, but I don't know if I don't know if I'm ready, because I'm not a trained writer. We have writers in my family, journalism majors, and I was thinking, not really a writer, but I have something to say about Robert and his life. Yeah. Right. So
can you tell me what did you go to? What training did you go to? I'm curious.
It was
a conference.
Business Boutique. It was a Dave Ramsey boutique over at Cornerstone.
Really?
Yeah. And it was Business Boutique. Came out of there and went, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I wrote down, what I wanted to be called, In Our Arms, talked to one of my daughters about it. And I said, can you make this just make this header for me. I want lots of orchids because that's with my flower. I wanted to be pretty, but I wanted to have something about life in our arms. And she came up with Life Unexpected. So it sat there then until February of 2021 because I wasn't ready. I needed time to mourn, but I also needed time to figure out, is this something I wanted to do? I wanted Robert's life to be meaningful beyond the 18 years.
Right.
And I know it is, but how does that impact other people? Was there a space there that people could have a safe space to share their story? Yeah. Would it be meaningful for Robert's life to have that impact? And so this year, after COVID, I had some time to think and write. I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do it. And I did it scared. You know how that saying? Just do it scared.
Do it scared.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that was the start of it, that if I can be a part of sharing his story, and it's very vulnerable, and sometimes it's really scary to write those things because they're so personal. But I feel like if I can share that gives another mom or dad a reason then to reach out and share their story. Like, I'm so glad you shared that because I'm struggling with that same thing today. Or I wish I'd known this, 5 years earlier. Well, I don't want another family to ever say that to me. I wish you had told me this 5 years earlier, So because music is so much a part of our lives, our entire family, I thought I'm gonna write, and then I'm gonna make sure there's a song in there. So for every blog, there's a song and a link, so that there's something to have some comfort and solace about once you finish reading something.
Right.
And then there's a scripture always. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So when you were thinking, do you remember the very first blog that you put on there? Did you put the original one from 2015?
Mm-hmm.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's called Very Bad.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was.
So that started it off.
Mm-hmm, and it's in the blog. It's the one where a doctor said to me, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's very bad. And I had to mull over in my heart what very bad meant to me, not to him. And he was a great doctor, not to anyone else, but what does very bad mean? What does that look like? And so that's what I write about, that we took that word, two words, very bad, and changed it to, it might be very bad to everyone else, but in our family, this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to us. Because I think now, looking at our adult children, Tomas, having seen them come through all of that pain and all of that change and all of that, there's a lot of stuff going on in a family that has nursing every day and all of that. Seeing them as adults, it's made them compassionate people. Yeah. And if that's part of his legacy, that's one of the most beautiful things that I see in my kids. I couldn't have taught them that. I can't teach them to be compassionate like that. Right.
And you wrote about that in the blog where you talk about Elliot. Yeah. I read that one. Yeah. Speak to that just a little bit. You're kind of talking about it now. That was a powerful one.
Well, thank you. It is a joy to have my kids be a part of the blog and tell their story too. So they'll be doing more of that, and Chris is doing that also. But Elliot, all the kids were great siblings to Robert. But Elliot was the first one I wrote about. Some people know who she is. She's she's in the entertainment world. Yep. With a big artist. And so having her share how she saw it as a sibling going through our life and our home has really been impactful for me, because we didn't really have time to talk about it when we were caring for Robert. It's been the years later that you talk about, how did you see this differently than I saw it as a mom, And Elliot's joy was coming home after being at, Reagan High School, or some horseback riding or swimming or dancing, all the things that she did, and getting to be with Robert. And Robert recognized each one of them when they came in the house as, oh my gosh, this person cares about me so much. And he would just embrace them. So that's part of it too. The siblings have such an impact and in the home, and for them to be able to share their stories too, and have a place that's safe to do that. Right. Yeah.
So the goal with the blog is connection, right, with other families. Yes. And so what families you feel like this is really going to bring value to? Is there a particular area that you really want to bring value to and kind of pour into them?
Right. Yes. At first, I thought it was just special needs families. And then as I've been writing and hearing back from readers, I find that it's not just the kids, it's the people my age who are now caring for their parents that are having the same issues. Because as we get older, our care is much like taking care of a child. And especially if someone has dementia, some of that care is very similar to the care we had in our home. There are therapies, there's nursing care, sometimes there's hospice care. So my goal was originally get the special needs families and the siblings to impact or communicate with me the impact the blog is having, and then get them connected so they can talk to each other. The other thing that's come of it, Robert had some incredible physicians. One of them is in Austin, Dr. Karen Keogh. She's the pediatric neurologist. And so she has just recently put the blog on her website because, again, the physicians have a job to do, and they don't always have a support group that's there readily for the families, but the families need a place.
Yes.
So she put the blog on the website and was very gracious in including us in that, so that families could also talk there within the blog. So that's my goal, and I to be honest with you, Tomas, I'm willing for the blog to do whatever it's supposed to do. Does that sound like
no?
It sounds like I don't have a vision, but I do have a vision for it. But
that makes sense.
As many people as it can reach, for families, and I'm for physicians' offices and clinics having it on their website to be a space where families can talk. I don't want to limit it. In the beginning, I was like, okay, it's going to just be my little community. And now I feel like, okay, if it does something more than that, because we have people in other states writing, and saying it's impactful for them there. So humbly, I say that whatever it's supposed to do, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. I heard this from a social media person. You probably know it, Gary V. And Gary V always says 1 is greater than 0. Right. Yeah. And I used that for a long time with this podcast, right? Because when we first started the podcast, I would have people go, hey, how many people are listening? I don't know. 1's greater than 0, right? Like at the end of the day, if one person is impacted by the story and by the vulnerability of what you're sharing, then that's what matters, right? I mean, because then that person more than likely is going to share that and impact someone else's life.
Right.
And so, I mean, I just, even with that one, when I read your blog about the Taylor Swift song, remind me of the song because I forgot the name of it.
Soon You'll Get Better.
Soon You'll Get Better. And as I listened to that song, I thought about, who would I want to send this song to? Immediately, because I haven't necessarily faced anything where, you know what I mean? But listening to it, you're just like, wow. What an amazing song. And music, so let's talk to this, the power of music.
Yes.
Like when you think about it as going through school, your life, talk about the power of music in your life and how it's affected you.
Well, I say in the blog, and we say this in our family, that music is a vital part of this walk. Not just this walk with special needs kids. It's a part of everybody's walk. So I don't care what kind of music you like. I don't care how old you are, how young you are. Music, to me, is one of the things that gets you through things. It also is the joy of, every celebration and times where you're joyful.
Right.
But you need some songs. You need some songs in your life when you're going through some stuff.
I love that.
And just lyrics that other people have written that have meant something. So to the Taylor Swift story, years ago, she and her family were very gracious and donated that signed guitar to anybody.
Oh, that's right. That's the picture in the blog.
Yeah. So they donated that for a fundraiser. And then years later, she writes this song. And I say in that blog post that I didn't hear it at first. Chris said to me, text me from the hospital, you need to listen to this. And I just broke down because it wasn't about my mother. And I share this, that, she had already passed and she had a very beautiful life. Sudden passing, there wasn't really care for her needed. But immediately I thought of all the special needs families that we hope and hope and hope. And sometimes you hope for many, many years past what you thought you were going to have to do. So there comes that disillusionment, and music reaches that place. So I always say, if you're going to do nothing else, if you read the blog and nothing else, press that link.
Play the song.
Yeah, play the song, because the lyrics are specifically chosen for that blog because
love
you're
that
going to
idea.
need it. You're going to need some music.
Yeah. So I got to ask.
Yeah.
What's your song?
Oh, I have
You
so
have,
many.
I know. If you were to pick two, what maybe one or two that you just it's the song that you go to. But I know now there are different moments, right? There are different moments. Right? There may be a joyful moment. There may be a sad moment.
Yes.
And so you could pick between those and kind of like, what does that go to for you?
Okay, so I'm going to give you two. One is an instrumental one, no lyrics whatsoever.
Okay.
Chariots of Fire theme song.
Okay.
It is my ringtone because in that movie, have you seen Chariots of Fire?
I don't think so.
Okay, you got to watch it.
Okay.
Make Christina watch. You watch it. Okay. In that movie, he talks about when he runs, he feels God's pleasure. So I changed that to when I sing, I feel God's pleasure. And I love that theme song. So it's my ringtone on my phone. It's the reminder of the things that you are passionate about. When you speak, you feel his pleasure. I know you do.
Oh, yeah.
When I sing, I feel his pleasure. When I teach, I feel his pleasure. Yeah. And I want to be reminded of that every day. I'm promised today, this moment, maybe not the whole day, but I'm promised right now with you. That's what I'm given. For how many years? I don't know. But I want to feel his pleasure in every moment I'm doing something that brings him glory, but also is joyful to me. It's good when I feel his pleasure. That makes me feel good, you know?
Yes.
So that would be the first one. There's another one. There's so many, Tomas. That's a hard question.
It's hard.
I mean,
you're a vocalist. I know.
Yeah, so many. All of my songs on my computer.
Right.
There is one that I sang at Castle Hills years ago, and it's called "All I Need to Know," and it's by Cynthia Clausen. Oh, Cynthia Clausen sang it, and she was a resident in San Antonio. One of the lines is, "I don't know much, but I know you love me," and I think it honestly is a secular song, but I, kind of turned a little bit, and so did she.
Yeah.
So it's a crossover song, but it talks about, look at these eyes, look at the age, look at the things I've been through, and I don't know much, but I know he loves me, and that's all I need to know. So that got me through a lot of days with Robert that, my child is really sick, and there's no cure for him. But I know one thing. I know that you love me, and that's all I need to know. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
and
it.
He made you strong enough to go through.
It made me get up the next morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. I don't know much.
Yeah. But I know he loves me.
He loves me.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so every blog, you have a kind of like a blog writing a song that goes with it,
right,
and then a scripture, right? And so obviously music is a big part of this, and I think too, there was another organization. You are on the board with Any Baby Can.
Yes.
Speak to that, what that meant to you in that time as you were going through what you were going through. You speak to that, what they were able to help you with.
Okay.
And how they can help others.
Yes. So it's Any Baby Can of San Antonio. It's a nonprofit agency that supports families with special needs kids, medically fragile kids, kids with disabilities. I first came to them because someone recommended that I go look them up. I had no idea. We have a lot of help in the military that supports military families with special needs kids. But there's a lot of pride involved in that, too, in the military, that you don't go ask for help because, you're a military family. You just don't do that. So we didn't do it. And plus, we were very fortunate. Chris has a good job. So when they said that, I said, okay, I'm going to go check it out and see. I didn't know how much help I needed. I guess that's the best way to say it. And I think that happens with a lot of families. You don't realize what you don't know. Yeah. And when you're caring for a child, that's fragile and has a rare condition, you don't have time to research. Someone's going to need to talk to you about what you need because you're not that smart. At least I wasn't. Yeah. So they came in with a case manager and she laid out, this is what I think you need. Let me assess what you don't have. Let me see what you need and let's go from there. So she connected me with the medical equipment company I needed. We had great insurance. It's a blessing. Yeah. But all of Any Baby Can services are at no cost. There's no long waiting list like most of the government agencies. There's not an income requirement. So it doesn't matter what you make or what you don't make. And I find that most of the families that maybe could afford all the services but just need help like we did to navigate it are going to give back anyway. They're going to give back to the people that helped them.
Right.
So they came in, and then when Robert got a little bit more stable and we had some nursing care that was consistent, I kind of begged my way onto the board, to be honest, because I said, I'm ready.
Yes.
I would really like to serve here. How can I serve? So graciously, they voted me onto the board. I was thankful. So I've been on the board almost 8 years. And so for me, that was another safe place. So I have incredible girlfriends, your wife being one of them,
right.
That I can be transparent with and honest and true. And so we've been given couples like both of you that we can speak with. We've been given church family. We've been given girlfriends that, just don't care about the stuff I have. They care about how you're doing, through all the years, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then I had Any Baby Can. So I had them through a case manager that I could speak honestly with. I also have board members that I count as dear friends that I can share with, and that they understand who Robert was.
Yeah.
And so that brings value, I think, to what we do there.
Right.
So yeah, I recommend them highly. They can go to the board and go to their website and see there.
So that there's a hurdle, right? And for parents that are going through this, you said it was like, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. What could you say to a family right now that may be in the midst of the storm? They don't know anything about Any Baby Can. What could you just speak into them right now to just get them to make that call? And you said it a little bit earlier, you're not knowing what you didn't know, right? You just didn't know. But what could you just speak into them right now to help them just make that move to call Any Baby Can?
I would say there's no judgment. There's no judgment in you making a phone call to Any Baby Can of San Antonio. There are a lot of other agencies, and we have great support in San Antonio, but this is the one I know.
Yeah.
There's no judgment and there's no fear that someone would judge you because, to be honest with you, I didn't have Robert in a bed. I didn't know anything about a medical bed. I didn't have the correct car seat for him. I should know this. These are things I should know after having a lot of children. I should know. I didn't know that special needs side of, he needs a special bed. He needs a special car seat. He needs nursing, and I was at my wit's end. So I was ready to call. You don't shower for a week because your child's having so many seizures. You need some help. So that's when I met them. And I would say you won't be judged and you're not alone.
That's huge.
You feel like you're alone and you feel like you'd be judged if you called and asked for help or not naturally trained to ask for help. Yeah. And so those are the two things I would say. Please call.
Yeah.
Please call, because there will be a case manager there that will walk you through to assess what you need. And that's a simple phone call.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the blog too, the community that most of the times, and we don't have that in COVID because nobody's sitting in a waiting room talking to another mom.
Right.
But back in the day, prior to COVID, when a family went into a waiting room waiting for their doctor, those moms, we talked, because most of the time, a lot of the information we would get was from mom to mom, dad to dad, family to family. Where'd you go for this? And how did this work? Does that feeding tube work right? And what meds are you on?
Right.
And all the things that we would know then in a waiting room while we're waiting, we don't get to know right now because we can't go there. So that's part of the blog too, that you can talk one-on-one, to other families through the blog. You can talk to me. I'll give you what I know, and what I don't know, I'm going to find out for you.
So there's an interactive component to the blog where families can come together.
That's what we're working on also. We're trying to make another community within, and I don't want to jump the gun, but another community within the blog that people can talk to each other.
I love that. Yeah. That's powerful.
So please call.
Yes.
You're not alone.
Yeah. I think knowing, that idea, you're not alone and there's no judgment.
Yes.
You're not alone and there's no judgment. Yeah. Huge. Yeah. Endorsement for Any Baby Can. Christina and I have supported it for many years, and we're big believers in it. Yes. And so as we kind of wrap this up, Julie, I think, I always ask people, okay, if there were a book that you've given away, right, as a gift, right, what is the one book that you've given away the most, and why?
Well, it has a little bit to do with the blog, but not a whole lot. I've given Dave Ramsey's books quite a few times away. That's probably the most book I've given away. I love audiobooks.
Yes.
So there are some that, a lot of books I read are on leadership just because I think, okay, now I'm in a space that I'm a different kind of leader and I want to be true to that and, educate myself a little bit more. I'm trying to think if there was a book I write about on the blog called Too Young to Die. And
Okay.
And it's a book I had back in college. The whole story's in the blog, but it talks about my early introduction to kids that had diseases and conditions that caused them to die. And I don't think it's a normal book. I probably wouldn't give that one away, but I write about it because I think there is that component that it prepares you in some ways to, I don't know if it's a component, it's just something in my heart that was, something feels weird about this that I'm not sure I get to keep, Robert. So what do I need to know along this path? What are the books that are going to get me through? So honestly, I'll say this up front, and some people will like this, some won't, and that's okay with me. My Bible is my rock.
Yeah.
so Scripture, I hang out in James a lot. But I think it's books about hard things are really important to me because life can be hard. It can be unexpected. And,
it can be unexpected.
And as we're coming up on Mother's Day, we're not always in a happy place. It's not always joyful for some moms. Moms that have lost kids, moms that have special needs kids that they're growing. They're growing older and they're still taking care of their special needs child. So Mother's Day can be hard. One thing I do want to mention, though.
Please.
We have these... this first initiative that we did, and it's called the Kind Cards, and they're on the website, and you can download them. They're just beautiful cards that say, "You're doing great. I'm proud of you. You're the best mom for your child," and they can download those and they can give them out. I like to carry them in my purse because if I see somebody that I feel like maybe is having a hard time at HEB, I want to give it to them. I want them to know that. That they're not alone and that there are other families around them that can be a part of their lives if they choose to.
Right.
The other thing that we're doing, and I have to mention this because started today, and we announced a giveaway. It's a candle giveaway for Mother's Day. It's a 48-hour flash giveaway, so you have to go on the website. You can, if you go to the social media posts, so go to inourarms.blog, and you can see that. Facebook, Instagram, they can, first of all, like the post, then go to the website and join the mailing list. And then the third thing is to write on that post something that you're looking forward to for Mother's Day. It can be anything. So some of the ones I read this morning, I was just laughing because I'm thinking, oh, yeah, no cooking of food by the moms. That's not our job on Mother's Day. Yeah, so that'll be
cleaning.
That's right. No cleaning, no cooking. Right. Totally pampering.
That's right.
So we'll do that on Mother's Day. I wanted to give a candle, a special candle, and the candle comes from a company called School Sense. And talking about the Spurs, Malik Rose was an incredible
awesome
basketball player in San Antonio. They're not here anymore, but the candle company was started by his wife, Tiffany Rose, and their daughter, Marley. And so Marley is a young African-American female-owned businesswoman. And she's got this company called School Sense. And so they make these beautiful candles. And so it'll be a candle set from Marley's company, School Sense. So go to School Sense and look up Marley Rose.
I love it. So they got to like the blog post, make a comment, like the Facebook.
And join the mailing list.
I did that last night.
Yes, I saw that.
You saw that? I joined that last night. No, I'm there we need more of this.
Yeah.
Right?
Kind cards. People
we
can
need
be
more
kind.
of this. But really I think what we really need in today is authenticity. And I think your blog In Our Arms, Life Unexpected, we need more of that. We need more of this authenticity, this realness, and what you provide on there is powerful. You know how sometimes we don't see how big something is when we're in it, but even the small thing that I read and saw, it's way bigger than probably you ever imagined it. And I think what you're doing is special. Juli, I think it's very, very special. And there's so many people that are going to be impacted by your blog. So don't stop. All right. Be scared.
Be scared.
Keep going. Right. And don't stop and do it scared.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned earlier, that little bit of nervousness.
That's right.
Helps you stay engaged.
Right.
And so, the if they want to go to the blog, is it just in
www.inararms.blog. So
inararms.blog.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not right.
Is that right?
So it's this is where
That's okay.
my kids laugh at me and I just go, listen, I'm learning stuff. Okay, I'm learning.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So www.inararms.blog and then it's at inararms.blog.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll have a link.
Okay, great.
So if you missed that, don't worry. We'll have a link for everybody to have that.
Great.
And I want to thank you because remember we talk about who you marry matters,
yes.
right? But who you are married to, who their friends are matter.
Yes.
And I know that when my wife and I have those talks and I say, have you talked to Juli? And I know that she's not only going to get some amazing advice, but she's just going to have somebody that listens. And I just really appreciate you for that. And I can't wait for us to go outside and have dinner.
Yes, that's right.
I'm looking forward to it. Miss Juli, thank you for being on TM3 Impact. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tomas. It's been
Take
my
care.
pleasure.